Hey, CEO Squad, Olivia and Courage.
What's up?
What up?
It is it's another week. It is Monday. Sometimes we're off and like record Tuesday, but it is officially Monday, which it just all starts on a Monday morning. It feels a little heavy sometimes on a Monday.
It does.
Yeah,
Just
you
asking.
kind of go through this transition on a weekend where you're either off or you're super busy, and then Monday is like reality. It kicks back in. You got office work, you got emails to respond to, you have things that are due. Like you just have a lot of tasks that need to be completed. And I feel a little overwhelmed today. I'm going to be completely transparent. I feel very overwhelmed today, but it'll be okay. But it is a one woman team here in the studio. What about y'all? How are you feeling?
Welcome to our podcast. Hey guys, my name is Olivia Hayward.
What's up? It's your girl, Courage Molina.
Oh, it's Amber Likens, and this is My CEO Squad. Before you leave our channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell so you never miss an upload. In the comments, let us know where you're tuning in from, and we cannot wait to get to know you more. Let's go ahead and start this conversation.
Well, as you ladies know, I had a rough day yesterday, emotionally just like exhausting, and so today is not as heavy as yesterday, but I'm not like back to 100% myself yet, so it's still like slow going.
Yeah, my weekend was very busy, so I just feel like this should be a day off because I had three really busy back to back. So Thursday was pretty bit. Actually, my whole week last week was pretty busy because I was finishing up on a project magazine that I designed and went right into that to having like a physically um, busy weekend with different events that I was at and helping with. And so, yeah, it was very physically draining. So
Yeah.
today feels like tired.
Yeah.
I feel this little ache in my shoulder, back.
Yep.
So yeah.
Tense. I think we have to always give ourselves permission to take off. Yesterday, I took a mental day and I stayed in my house all day. I didn't even leave. The kids left with Alan for a little bit to go to church and came back, and I felt some way about it. About 4 o'clock, I was like, I should get up and be productive. And then I made my bed up and then I changed my mind. I was like, no, I am going to give myself a day. It is okay. And
Yeah.
I don't think we do that enough. But why we don't is because if we are not showing up on the back end of our business, even if it's not on the front end, who is doing that for us? So these things have to be completed. Let's talk about that. Mentally, that can be something that's crippling. So how do we deal with that? Individually or
Um, I don't know. I think like sometimes it's like you said, you just get up and the day feels away. So yesterday I just got up and I felt off right from the jump yesterday, and instead of like doing all the things, I just kind of rolled with the crap. Do you know what I mean? Like I allowed for my day, my emotions to tell me what kind of day I was gonna have. So when I woke
mm,
up and my emotions were like, this is gonna be a crappy day. When I tell you, I was like, team crappy day, let's do it. And I did all the things to ensure that my day was crappier by the second. Like with every opportunity, I was like, yep, let's step it up for the crap over here. Let's complain about this. Let's do this. I was team, let's make it a crappy day. And then by the end of the day, I was just so sad. I was just so exhausted and overwhelmed by all the things. And I didn't get anything done, FYI. So upset about all the things um, that I texted you guys, and I'm like, hey, I think my depression might be back. So y'all pray for me because that is how the day felt. There wasn't anything that happened for me to start out my day like that. There wasn't anything. I mean, this just my. I don't. I'm not saying that my life is sad. I'm saying it was just my life. It was just my regular responsibilities, the normal things that I need to start thinking about on a Sunday. Thinking about my bills because I do Money Mondays, going through the mail, thinking it's tax time now. I just did the books cleaned up for the church. Now I need to do the books for myself. Thinking about how much I paid this year in taxes, how much I'm making payments on, like just that's just my regular life. You understand what I'm saying? Then I had a pivot in my business, which I guess we can get to later. But just like all these things, it was too much. It was just too much. And so by the end of the day, I was so sad. I felt so tired. And there is this magnification that happens when you are having a depressive episode. So you can have a depressive episode and not be struggling with depression, right? With the depressive, and I'm not a psychologist, I'm just telling you from my own personal experience. So I can have a depressive episode and not be depressed. You know, you can be sad about things that are actually happening. You can be emotional, you can be tired. But when those things are blown out of proportion in your mind, they are magnified to catastrophic levels, and you start to respond like those things are actually catastrophic, and it's not just your emotions responding to the situation. That can lead you down a spiral, or it can lead me down a spiral, and that's what happened yesterday. Nothing was actually catastrophic, but because of how I felt, everything became like magnified to the nth degree, and then I'm emotionally responding like my life is falling apart. My life is not actually falling apart. That is not, those aren't the facts, right? It's just how my emotions responded to it. And for me, once I crossed over, I did not even have the wherewithal to be like, oh, let me pull it back. I was like, nope, I don't even have the energy to pull this back. I don't even have, I was like, I'm just about to lay down on this bed and I'm going to watch my show. And then the show was sad. Freaking
Oh
episode.
my
Yes,
goodness.
New Amsterdam. There I was, girl, 2 episodes. First of all, the episodes can kind of be whatever, but 2 episodes, I would have cried even if I wasn't feeling away.
Hey, now my CEO squad is so grateful and thankful for today's sponsor, Amber Likens. We would just want to tell you how much we enjoy having the best makeup applications, understanding our face, and it's really important when you are doing your makeup that you feel the most confident for yourself. Everybody's face is very different, and so when you are applying makeup, don't be intimidated by that. So in Amber's workshops, it really is all about the best makeup techniques for you. It's interactive, it's step-by-step, and there's several to go ahead and choose from. So head on over to amberlikens.com. At checkout, use MYCEOPOD 20 and then get 20% off whatever workshop that you want. We are so happy and grateful to be able to offer this to you. So again, head over to amberlikens.com. That is AMBERLYKINS.com. And at checkout, use code MYCEOPOD20. That is MYCEOPOD20. All right, well, let's get back to today's episode. Thank you again for today's sponsor.
And it left me with like this deep sadness. I turned it off. I was like, I don't know what is happening. I got to take like a step back. So I think that as an entrepreneur, as a woman, as a leader in your family, in your community, in your business, there are all these things that you are responsible for. And when it feels like those things aren't working or you don't have a system, you can get overwhelmed, and you need to be mindful of how you respond to that. I think, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking right now there's 3 types of people that deal with this in general. There's this one person that things are happening in their life and they push it under the rug. They ignore it, they're in denial, and they just keep pushing through, but they don't speak about it. They don't even address it themselves. There's a second person that their life is falling apart, aka not really, but dramatic things are happening that just send them to a dark place. But they talk about it, but don't want to fix it because they always like to talk about the problems that they have. They feel a sense of woe is me. And I want the attention, but I want to talk about this because I just want people to understand I'm going through something, and it never stops. That's the second person. The third person, I truly believe, is us as a three, like I was going to say threesome. I don't like the sound of that as a group right here. There's a third person that is going through something, and it can be real and raw and heavy, but we speak about it. And not only do we speak about it, we want a difference. We want to make a change. We go to the resource that's going to help us get better. We're not in denial about it. We're very open about it. But we do want to make a difference, and we do want to change our life and our mental health. So these three people are very different people. Yeah. And honestly, I personally, now this is just my opinion, I try not to surround myself around anybody that is going to bring me down. If you have anything going on in your life that is sour or is dark, I'm here for it. I will listen. But if you don't want to make a difference and you don't want advice from somebody, or maybe not even advice, just an ear, but I don't hear from your mouth, I'm going to do this to fix it. I'm going to do this to make myself better. I'm going to do this. And it could be, I'm going to go walk every day to just like clear my mind. I'm going to journal. I'm going to, study my word in my Bible and spend time praying. I'm going to see a therapist. I'm going to take a workout class to de-stress, and whatever. I'm going to get off social media. I'm going to unfollow people that depress me. Like whatever it is, if I don't hear that from your mouth, I actually don't want to hang out with you. I don't want to hang out with you. I don't want to hear it. No, nothing, because you're actually making it worse for the people that you're venting to. Because you don't understand, the words that we speak are so powerful to our mental health. If you say you're sad and you don't change it and you don't speak positive into yourself, you will be sad. If you say that you're depressed and you're never going to, be at a financial place in your life to be better, guess what? You're always going to be in a financial place that's struggling. Like it doesn't fix overnight, but you have to have hope. There was a piece of a movie the kids and I were watching yesterday, and this guy was like, he wants to dunk a basketball so bad to prove to his buddy that he can. He had this bet going on. So for 10 weeks, he focused on dunking a basketball. Now, when you think of that as a regular person that doesn't play sports, I'm like, you need 10 weeks to do that? That's a lot. Okay. But he was up at 5:30 in the morning practicing with a guy that's going to help him get better. He was doing strength training and in the gym. He was working on his diet. He was working on his mental health. Like he was doing all these things. He was working on the vision of it. And it was amazing at the end of the 10 weeks that he was able to dunk it. But I do think he cheated. We didn't finish the movie because I think he lowered the goal a little bit in the movie because he couldn't do it. Right. But anyways, I haven't gotten to the end of it. But the point is, he set himself up like he couldn't do it and he felt very defeated, but he was like, I need somebody that actually can do it and can train me to get here. It's going to take 10 weeks, but I'm going to do it. Even if he cheated himself to get there, like he got further than he could have. And it's just little stuff like that I'm like, people have to better themselves first. I can't fix you. You got to fix yourself. Let's start. I mean, that was on my heart. I was like, there are three people, and these are the three people.
There are three type of people in this world. I think that sounds harsh, right? And I, as a listener, I think it sounds harsh. She's saying, if you're not going to do anything, if you're going to stay negative, if you're going to say, woe is me, sad, whatever, I don't want to be around you, right? That does not sound like what a person should be saying. I got my air quotes up. But here's the thing though, right? The truth of the matter is that your environment has an impact on your own mental health. That is the truth. Doesn't matter how kind I want to be to a person or how supportive I want to be. The truth is that your environment impacts you. If you are always around people, if you're constantly in conversation where that's the thing, it can begin to bring you down. So you do have to have some boundaries, whether that means we're not going to be in close relationship, or I'm only going to talk to you a couple times, or I'm going to give you some encouragement, and that's it. There is this responsibility that you have for protecting your own mental health journey on this, this thing we call life. And when she's saying like, make yourself better, what she's really saying is like, take responsibility for getting whatever it is you need for this healing journey. So if you need to get a therapist, somebody can't get a therapist for you. Nobody can make that decision for you. You have to decide to get a therapist. If it's about, your money or your whatever, like sometimes depression is situational. We're not necessarily, I mean, I guess we could be talking about those with a chemical imbalance, but even those with a chemical imbalance, even though it's not going to be perfect, I know this lady that kind of deals with that or whatever. I know it's not going to be perfect, but still, like, okay, I'm seeing a therapist. They're changing my medication. I'm taking medication. I'm doing all of these things to kind of mitigate this chemical imbalance that leaves me in this state of depression. But I think the majority, and I do not have numbers on this, so please, just cut me some slack. I believe that a lot of people who are struggling with depression, it is situational. It started as the result of a situation. And with, like you're saying, the example you gave is really about cognitive behavioral techniques. He had a goal, right? He set out a plan. He took different actions so that he could get this outcome. I think that a lot of people who deal with situational depression, which is the type of depression that I suffered from, suffered, past tense, from, I think that cognitive behavioral techniques really help people, and they certainly have helped me. I had a goal, like what type of life, and I don't mean like I'm trying to check something off the list. I'm talking about like the type of woman I wanted to be. I wanted to be a woman who is not always this, who's not always that, who's not easily whatever. And I'm like, okay, if I were this woman that I had in my head, how would she respond? And then I began this plan of action, building these routines and habits so that I could have the routine and habits of the type of woman I wanted to be. But you're right, it was my responsibility. My response is my responsibility. So how you respond to different situations and circumstances, that's your responsibility. And your health and your healing is your responsibility.
Yeah.
That is like you have got to go and do the thing, whether it's praying or asking people to pray. And I think talking about it is huge because that was something that I didn't do in the past. When I was depressed, like not an episode, but I was suffering from depression, I was not calling and texting and saying, "Hey, I'm having a rough time. Can y'all pray for me?" I was just drowning, and my friends could just see me drowning. I didn't want to talk about it. I wasn't talking about it. I might have been talking about the thing that was going on, you know? I might have been talking about that and said how I felt about that, but I was not talking about like my thoughts and my feelings and any of that. I was just crying all the time. Show up to Olivia's house, boo crying, scaring her guests away. You know what I'm saying? They're like, oh, she come over here for that. It's time for us to go. You know what I mean? It's like I wasn't talking about it. I was just swimming in it. And so then the
You're
question
muted,
becomes,
Olivia.
oh yeah, we don't know. We don't know how you muted, but we can't hear you. You might not be muted to yourself. I can read your lips saying how I'm muted. Well, we don't know.
Let's mime. Let's do the mime game. Yeah.
So if you're saying like, oh, it's like, oh, well, then how do my friends stick around if I'm not talking about it and I wasn't willing to change? I think that for the friends that I had in that season, they were women who knew me before then.
Yes.
So it was a definite change in my personality. Which is why, close long-term relationships are important. So when you do start going through something, I feel like we might be able to hear you now, Olivia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you do start going through something, even if you're not in the headspace yet, to be like, okay, I can do better. Okay, I want to, because you're not always in the head. I was not in that headspace back then. But those long-term close relationships, people can see that shift in your personality and they can stand by and they can pray and they can encourage you and they can force themselves into your space. So that you can see with your eyes that you are not in it by yourself because you totally feel like you're in it by yourself. But that is not, I feel like you can't expect that from every person. That's a certain level of relationship. I just met you 2 days ago. Now you in this. I don't know you well enough. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's just the
Yeah.
truth of it, right? So I don't think it's required just like of human beings to constantly put ourselves, out in that way. But when you've been friends for a long time, when you've allowed people to actually get to know the real you, when you start to change it up, they can see the difference even when you can't. Go ahead, Olivia. I know you wanted to say something.
Yeah.
Thank you to Olivia Hayward for sponsoring this portion of the podcast. Get ready to make a statement, ladies. Olivia Hayward has got you covered with her bold and beautiful statement earrings, hair accessories, and apparel. Her designs are perfect for the fierce and fabulous woman who wants to stand out and make a lasting impression. Don't settle for blended in. Let Olivia Hayward help you shine like the star you are. Save 15% on your next purchase at oliviahayward.com by using the code MYCEO. MYCEO. And save 15% on your next purchase. Can't wait to see you shine. I was just saying, probably back then too, like when you're actually going through it, you didn't realize that you were actually depressed, right? So it wasn't like, oh, I can, have these coping mechanisms or do these things to help with it, because you don't even realize in the beginning, you don't even realize what you're actually suffering with or why this is actually happening. So that's all I was saying. Like, you just don't realize that you're going through it. And yeah, I think, and also I feel like for people who have friends or family who suffer from it, it's like I know people might be thinking like, what do I do? Even if I were around someone that is suffering from it, it's like, you really can't do anything but be there, right? You really can't do anything but be there, because everything that is happening with them is happening with them. And so, that's why people, do all types of things. Like people, commit suicide. People like, how can they do that? So many people love them, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter about other people around them. It's really what's going on inside with them. So
It's so true. I think not realizing that you're struggling. And one thing I love about Olivia when I was in that season is that she did not make it my responsibility in that season to ask for help or to call her. She showed up. Like, I don't know if her and Shalanda, if I don't know if y'all had me on the schedule, who's gonna be putting up with crying boots today? Whose week is it? I don't know if they drew straws or what, but they did not make it my responsibility. Well, if you need me, call you. Well, I'm literally never going to call you.
exactly.
Okay? I'm not calling you because I'm so depressed. Like, I'm definitely not going to call you. Or just let me know if you need something. I already feel like a burden. I feel like my whole life is a burden. So now you want me to call you and be a burden to you. Also not about to do that, right? Like, it's like, what I'm saying? Like, all these things, they did not make me responsible for it. They would just show up, even though I did not want to be bothered with them. They'll be like, well, that's fine. You could just sit in here. You can cry right there. That's fine. But we're going to sit right here. You ain't got to talk to us. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have permission to be where I was. I didn't have to fake or pretend or do any of that. And I did not have the added, responsibility in that dark season of reaching out to them over and over. Fast forward to present day, right? And this is why I'm saying the difference between like being depressed and having a depressive like episode. I knew what it was. I sent a text message like, hey, let them know, because I don't really know how that's gonna go. I don't really know if I'm gonna be how this is gonna go in the morning. Am I gonna be feeling like I feel right now? I need them to know. Let me just tell you, I turned my phone to airplane mode. I sent that text and I turned my phone to airplane mode. I was like, yeah, because when I say I'm taking a break, I'm not talking to anybody. I just was so exhausted. So I'm like, I don't even have the energy to think about what are the steps I need to take for all these things or whatever, right? But you know what happened yesterday? Erica Denise Davenport called my child. I guess she tried to call me, and it's going straight to voicemail. So Micah comes in the house, and she hands me the phone. I was like, hello. She was like, ma'am, do not get to send a text message like that and then not answer your phone. I don't think so. It's like, wow. It's like, it's not that deep, but I hear what you're saying. Right? Like, but that is not just like a random person. That's not her responsibility as a good human being. We have a close relationship. When I turn my phone back on off of airplane mode, I can see that both of you didn't say, okay, I'm praying for you. I could read the prayer in the text. Do you see what I'm saying? And I'm not saying y'all got to do that, but I'm just saying there's a huge difference between saying, well, I hope you feel better, and saying, oh, I hate that for you. Or whatever. Do you know what I'm saying? Like there's just a big difference. There's a
I
huge
felt,
difference.
yeah, I felt immediately. I
Lord,
just
keep your
felt,
hands on courage, her mind, her body, and her thoughts. Take away any doubt she may have and all her worry. I'm reading the prayer. Olivia says, Lord, I pray that although courage isn't feeling herself today, I'm reading the prayer. I'm not just reading like, they didn't just heart it. They weren't just like, oh, that's so sad. Hope you feel better, right? Like they are writing it out. And Erica was like, bump that. I don't care about her saying she's taking a break. I'm like, I literally said, not really in the mood to talk.
I knew, first of all, and so this is the thing. Well, my immediate thoughts were that, because I was like, she gonna make me call somebody. But I think I've the great part of like going through this with you, I do feel like you're different this time, so I didn't feel like it was the way you worded it, even though it caused a little bit pause. I was like, the way you worded it did genuinely sound like I just need a break or whatever. So that's why I didn't, because I would have been calling them up too. But I was like, okay, it did not sound like, I don't know. It's just, it didn't sound so worrisome. It just sounded like, okay, I need a time off. So then, I just wrote that prayer out just because I feel the same too. It's like, it's great to be like, oh, I'll pray for you. But I feel like it is so encouraging to be able to see those words and for me to write it out and think about it. For me too, for the person that's praying, because sometimes we're like, oh, we will pray for you. But then it's like, are you really praying for that person? Are you really sitting down and thinking about the words that you want to pray? So, it's very important that we do that, like in that moment. And also like, not just like, oh, I'll pray for that person. Like, I feel like when I pray for, sometimes I have all types of notes in my phone. Sometimes when I don't send them, I just write it out, because I'm very, I need to write it out. It's like, I can't just think. Sometimes I need to write it out to really get my words clear and really be able to understand what I'm actually saying and praying for. So, yeah.
No, I think that's a good point to make too, right? Like, being in it with me, right? Having come through it with me, like, okay, she's feeling away, but this ain't that, right? Like being able to recognize, like, okay, she having a day, but the truth is, we all have emotional meltdowns. We all have days where we're quitting our whole life. We all have days where we are the worst mom, the worst wife, worst sister. Like, you have no success. You should just shut your business down. Nothing. Go out of business today, right? Like, we all have those days. And I think, like, when you've gone through it, I have the vocabulary to say what it is. I now have the words to say, and you have the experience. Like, okay, she's saying what she's saying. I'm going to take it for that. But I'm also the type, I'm going to call you. Don't tell me you don't feel like. Don't tell me you're going through something you don't feel like talking, because I know where you at, and I actually have your location. I called Erica's son this weekend. I was like, "Where's your mama?" And he was like, "I don't know. Don't you got her location?" I was like, I do. And which is exactly what I can see she ain't doing it. She just at the house. Tell her I said, call me back. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm the type, you cannot tell me, oh, you're just going to take a break. No, I need to hear you. Because I know what it's like to just feel like, oh, you don't want to lay this burden on your friend or whatever. No, burden us. That's what we're here for. Any friend, and I'm talking about friend, not Facebook, not Instagram. I'm talking like, I do life with these people, right? Anybody that is a friend who feels like they don't want to be burdened by you, you might need to recast them. You know what I'm saying? I don't believe in pink slips anymore, but they need to be recast as an extra. When I have some extra time, then I might be able to hang out.
You are not one of my friend's daughter. She called this guy yesterday NPC. Y'all,
What's
do you
an
know?
NPC?
Do you know what that is? Okay, she was
No.
like, oh, he was just an NPC, and I was like, what is that? And so my husband, who is a gamer, he's like a non-playable character. I was like, first of all, this girl is out of control. She's always, and I kind of was figuring that because she's always like, oh, main character. Now she over here talking about he's an NPC. I'm like, oh my god.
Jeez, that's hard.
This is our name drop. You
So
talking about Cameron?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, I am. She's over here talking about boys at Chick-fil-A's are NPCs.
Oh my.
Oh,
that is, first of all, it's funnier. I already knew it was hard, but it's funnier than I knew. For sure. But yeah, like that's what you gotta restructure your roster if you are in a tough space and your friends feel like you are a burden to them. Like no, y'all are not a burden. What you're going through, like that's not a burden to me because we people and this is the gig. I think, me and Olivia and Amber, we've talked a lot on this podcast about friends and friendship, and we feel that all the time. We meet people and they're like, oh, they don't have great friends, or they envy the friendship that we have. Let me just tell you something. You think you want to be friends with these two? It's a lot of work. It's not a walk in the park. It's not all rainbows and Skittles, okay? It is frustration. It's work. It's investment of my time. Certainly costs me money. Right, like all of these things. You don't just get to be like, oh, we're gonna have this great friendship, but then you don't want to put in the work. Like you ain't gonna make the cut, child.
What if they made you sign papers for friendships like they do your husband and your wife, your spouse? They're like, oh, we about to legalize y'all together forever.
Ever. First of all, I'm gonna definitely have a stronger application process. I'm gonna have a longer probationary period. Sorry, we've only been friends for 5 years.
Are you gonna have a prenup?
And I'm definitely gonna have a prenup. Any of these right here, this negates it immediately. These are all deal breakers right here. Let's talk about this since we're talking about this. This is my opinion, and I want you to tell me how you feel about it. Okay.
Okay.
I think that if ever there was a job that you could choose that would ensure that you would have depressive moments and or anxiety, entrepreneurship has got to be top 3.
Oh yes.
Hang on. I thought about this last night. I was in the shower and I was thinking, would I be happier working for somebody else and getting a consistent check every week? And I was like, what would that check look like? How much would it have to be for me to go into a job? And then I started thinking of people that go into a job every week, like a physical building, and you're working, or maybe their home office, but you have to check in. They're like, I have to take my computer with me or I can't leave the room. And I'm like, oh my gosh, so stressful. I was like, you know what sucks is that it sounds so good. So good. But I would be so miserable and I would complain every single day. That's what I was thinking. I was like, I would be the annoying person that people are like, girl, shut up about your freaking job. I'd be like, these people I have to go in this office with every day. And I'm like, I am actually living out every fantasy I had on paper. Do this, 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 this. The only thing that's not adding up is the deposits. I'm like, it's an ebb and flow. It's so aggravating, entrepreneurship. You are on a high for a long time, and then you go, woo, you go in this dip.
In the valley.
In the valley, man. And it does not feel good at all. It actually makes you rethink your whole entire
every choice
strategy.
You ever made. How did I get here? Where I made a wrong turn.
Was there a sign that said turn left? And I was like, no, right looks better.
Yeah. Who convinced me that this was the route I should take? I'm like, whose idea was this? Who said that? Who said entrepreneurship was the life? Who said that? Right? Like you get to that place.
It's tough, man.
But you know what's funny is that as a person, first of all, Amber ain't never worked for nobody in her life except for like 2 days.
I haven't. That sucks butthole. I'm not doing it. It is
She
bad
only
news.
did like 5 minutes, okay? But for those of
Exactly.
us who have had actual
Barely.
jobs, okay, in the real world, I
Don't
think
say
that
it wasn't a real job. Now, I may have only done it for a
for
short
2 minutes.
amount of
That's what I'm
time.
saying. It don't count. It was a trial period.
Oh, it was
It's
a
like
trial.
saying
And it
it's
was
like
so
saying
long ago.
it was an
Like,
audition, right? You didn't play the part. You auditioned for the part of employee number one. You auditioned.
Yeah,
Okay, that was it. She had a couple of auditions and she was like, nah, I don't
it
want
was
this
rough.
part. You know?
It
But
was
I
rough.
think that if when you work, that is something that you hear. That's a part of the culture, like constant complaining about work conditions,
Yeah.
about things of that nature. But I think there are some assurances, even with the complaints. I think we just kind of have complaint culture. There are some assurances with employment that you just do not have an entrepreneurship. There's a clearly cut path for most jobs. What it takes to be successful. Someone else has already done all the groundwork. So all you have to do is fold the clothes like this, make the sandwich like this, run the report like that. Like you get those steps. You get a salary even during training, even during difficult seasons, even when you show up and give the bare minimum, you still know how much you're going to make. And while your income might be lower than you could have as an entrepreneur, there's a guaranteed bottom, right? Nobody's afraid of having a lot of money. It's like, what about that guaranteed bottom? Because what's going to happen in those seasons when I'm not making it? But the reason I say I think entrepreneurship leads you to so many episodes is because it's literally all on you,
yeah.
right? Even if you have a team, if you are the CEO, you're the one making the choices, you're the one making the decisions, you're the one doing the overseeing. And it feels very personal, especially for purpose driven entrepreneurs. I think there are lots of entrepreneurs out there that may not be purpose driven, but when what you're doing is tied to what you believe your purpose, what you were created in this world for, and you start hitting those potholes and divots and piles of poo lined up on the highway to success, you're like, wait a minute. It starts to feel like you are failing and not that the business is failing, right?
Mm.
If you've had this idea of how you're going to live your life, and if you can't figure that out, if you can't make it work, you were talking about this morning, Amber, if this brand does not do this, I'm going to have to, it's probably not true, but we say, I'm going to have to shut everything down. If this doesn't work, I'm going to shut everything down. How many of you, that I want to hear from you, not this pivot that you're in right now, you previously were in a place like this where you felt like you didn't know what was going to happen, but you know something needed to change. And then there was a pivot and you experienced success from that pivot. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, sure.
Um, I can't. I don't know. I'm trying to think about
I repeat the question one more time. I like to make sure I'm answering it clearly. Y'all know
Right.
how I like to
So
go
think
off.
about a time where you were exactly where you are now, where something
Yes.
needed to change. You were really struggling in an area and you were like, this is absolutely not working. And at the time, you had no clue what was going to fix it. But then you pivoted or you got a download and it was successful.
Yeah, I feel like I have two moments like that in my career. Yeah,
Go ahead.
I have a moment where I did a lot of business in person. And if I didn't see if I didn't see the client face to face, there was no money exchange because there was no way for them to see the product that I had or for them to experience what I had, right? I was a makeup artist. And so if I didn't perform, I didn't get an exchange with money, or if I didn't, provide the product that they needed, then there was no exchange. And there was a time where my website started offering a delivery service. So if you order online, then it immediately can be shipped to your home. And that was a big pivot for me. Like that was a huge moment. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't actually have to see my client to exchange a sale. Like they can just go on my website and they can have it at their doorstep. I probably have three moments. That was a big one for me. So that really, I felt the struggle of I can't be everywhere and I have to stop saying yes to a lot of stuff, can you meet me on a Sunday afternoon? Can you meet me at, 5 when I get off? And it didn't work for my schedule, but I had to do it anyways because I needed the income. So when I started offering a delivery service on my website, that was wonderful. And so my hands, it just came from the corporate center or the manufacturing plant to their home. And I thought, oh man, this is going to be a game changer for business.
I want you to go back. I want you to go back a little bit. I want you to
Okay.
go back to those days of somebody needing to meet you at a time that doesn't work for you and your schedule, but the feeling like I have to do it. How can you describe how was that for you emotionally? Did you have family then? Did you have kids then? Were you married? How was that for you emotionally to feel like in order for me to be successful and to do this thing, I've got to do this thing that I don't have time for, that I don't want to do? Like, how did you feel then?
Yeah, I was not married and then engaged and married through that process, and also in a stage of becoming a new mom in that process. So I did a lot of different life changes, and I kind of felt really sad. I was like, why can't I decide when I want to work? It was brought to me in this business decision that I made that you make your schedule. So when you want to work, you work, and when you don't, you don't. But actually, I mean, it's true, but then it wasn't true, because if my client wasn't available, then I couldn't work during those hours. And if she needed me after a certain, if she worked a 9 to 5, she's in an office business. She needs me in the evening for an event she's going to, or she needs me on a Saturday morning. I think I struggled the most on Saturday mornings and Sundays. People wanted my business. And especially it didn't hurt as bad being single. I could go and do. Didn't hurt as bad being newly married, because my husband was also working and doing his thing. I didn't love it, but when I became a mom, and actually before I became a mom, when I was pregnant, I could not tell you how awful it felt when I was morning sickness or when I was exhausted and I actually had to still go to work. And I didn't just have to go to work to just be like, show up as you want to in jeans and a t-shirt. I had to go to work like I was going to a pageant.
Thank you to today's sponsor with Create Content Academy. A&O show, these two women show up, I'm included, Amber and Olivia, but we show up consistently online making video content, and we were asked for a long time, how do we do it? What are we doing? So what we did is we took our whole entire formula that we used for video, and we went and started teaching women how to do exactly what we were doing, which was making video that allowed our audience to find us, so it attracted our audience, and not only that, it converted our audience into followers, subscribers, customers, all the things. And we are so excited to be able to share this with you guys. So head over to createcontentacademy.com. At checkout, use MYCEOPOD for 10% off any of the boot camps. They are phenomenal and amazing, and you will love it. So we are so excited to see you make videos that convert and attract your audience, so you're not DMing and getting blocked anymore. So have a business and work it smart, you guys. All right, well, head over to createcontentacademy.com. Use code MYCEOPOD. That is MYCEOPOD. All right, well, let's get back to our scheduled broadcast.
I worked in the beauty industry, so if my hair was not done, if my makeup was not done, and I didn't have on high heels, and also a requirement for my business, it wasn't necessarily a requirement on paper, but it was a requirement within the industry to have on tights or something to look really a 10 out of 10. Then I felt as though if I didn't show up as that, then the reflection of my business would be like, I would just be in the garbage can, because I would have no business, because people judged you off of the way you looked. And they would book you for a wedding or for an event or for a home party or for a vendor show or anything off of the way you looked. And if you didn't look like you were an actual makeup artist, who wants you to do their makeup? Nobody. So I had to do the extra, and it was a lot of prep work. So it didn't matter how I felt, because I had to show up anyways. It didn't matter if I was actually sick hours before, the minute in the car before. I had to pull my crap together, get it through for 3 to 4 hours, get home, and then have a meltdown. I mean, that's really how it went. And I would tell my husband, and listen, let me be honest with the woman listening. There were sometimes I would go to these events and you would maybe get paid for your service, but there was no extra, right? Because maybe they didn't need a product or they didn't need anything else. They were just like, that's all I needed today. And they didn't want any extra. So he would always ask me, how much did you make today? Do you know what that feels like as a woman? Or even as a man? Maybe your man comes home and the woman's like, what'd you make today?
What'd you make today? Yeah.
Yeah. And you know how bad that the conversation in my head, I'd be like, oh, well, I didn't make what I was going to make, but hey, I have a game plan. So I'm going to do this to make up for the difference. I'm still a very big hustler. Like I'm always like on the grind. I don't think I have a problem with work ethic, to be honest. It's just for someone else I have an issue with it. But that was hard. That was really hard. And there was one day I remember the street I was driving on. I could vividly see it. I was in a free car that I had earned with this company. So you would think she's got it made, right? She got a big old team. But there were times where I was still saying yes to stuff. And it was like a Sunday afternoon. And I had to actually not go to church with my family and not go to Sunday lunch with my family because I had to go do an event so I could have the income for my family. And I finally told my husband, I was like, I have to stop saying yes to everything. I'm actually losing time with the most important thing in my life, and it's you guys. And that is why I started the business I started with. And it was like, put your faith before anything. So God comes before whatever decision you make. Put your family before anything. Whatever business decision you make, is it going to work for your family? And then if it does not align with either one of those, then it does not work. But if it does, then it does work. But I went off of the grid.
That's good.
I went totally off grid because I was like, well, my bank account says this amount, but the bills coming out says this amount. So if I don't go today, then we are in the negative, or maybe not even in the negative. You're just not at the place that you want to be. And it just need to be. And that right there, that will make you do things. No wonder people strip for a living. Girl, they are selling the whole body. Whatever I can make. I'm like, it makes complete sense sometimes because you're like, well, I can make like $5,000 tonight. Okay, go. It's like the decisions we make are so dumb, but the money, we feel validated through the money we make. And that's one situation. I have like two other ones I can think of, but that's just one pivot in my business for sure.
I just want to make sure people hear, like, I want people to hear the things that can lead to crazy, right? For the record, always saying yes to things that I want to say no to because I'm an entrepreneur and I don't have financial backing, right? You can get into this headspace where it's like, I have to say yes to this customer, to this client, to this call, to this strategy, to this event, to this whatever. I have to say yes to all of these things. I have to take every job that comes my way because I'm already not making enough money and there's no check coming. There's no hero that's going to come and save me. And so I got to do it. That is the worst. That is the best way to feel like crap, right? To feel like you don't have any choices. You don't have any freedom. The other thing is when we, shout out to the husbands and husbands, are measuring our success by money. Now, it's so easy for me to be like, these are freaking douchebags. Oh, my God. It's so easy to feel that way because Alan's not the only one that was asking that question. Mike would also ask the question. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm like, oh, I did this today. It's like, okay, but how much money did you make? It's such a demotivating and deflating thing. But here's the truth, right? Like, I can place blame on them and say they're horrible and we were victims, right? But the truth is we also felt that way, right? Yeah. We are also measuring our success, not just like, oh, I showed up and I did a great job. I was excellent. I was on time. I looked great. I threw up and I squished my mouth out with some Listerine. So I was minty fresh before I went in this meeting, right? I was able to hold it together and hold my bladder together because I was pregnant. And I got these pantyhose on. Holla at your girl with a belly of panties, right? Like, we did not see those things as success. It was like our success is based on the money. It's another thing with entrepreneurship. You know, we will sometimes assess our value as a person assess our value as a business owner by the sales at the end of the day. And if that doesn't make you feel like crap in a season where income is not coming in and you're not getting clients, if that is a slippery slope to depression and anxiety right there. I got to do something I don't want to do. First of all, I'm doing stuff I don't want to do, and I still ain't making no money.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Like, okay, Olivia, do you have one? Have you thought of one?
I have not thought of one, but I will say that, and I think I haven't really thought about one because I'm still very new. Even though I've been in the entrepreneurship for a while, I feel like I'm still very new when it comes to like changing. I've been kind of doing the same thing for the whole time, but kind of not. Actually, I did have a little bit of a pivot. I don't know if it was a success at the end. That's still TBD. Still, that's TBD to be determined. Because my pivot was, I started out really heavy on design work or whatever. So I was
That's a
building
huge
websites.
pivot.
Yeah, that's what it was.
She
Yeah,
lost her mind.
No, but you said what a success at the end. That's what.
It's been successful. You're full time. Stop playing with these people.
Yeah. Well, listen, barely. So yeah, I started out with design or whatever, and so that was the thing that I kind of started with, and then I pivoted with video coaching and doing making and selling earrings or whatever and other accessories. So at the time, it was like, okay, this thing, it was, when you're a designer, it's very time consuming and it doesn't always pay because people, the day of Canva, people think things cost $25. And I'm like, no, they don't. Okay. They take time, they take energy, they take, creativity. So I kind of pivoted from doing that on a more full-time basis to like, now I just do it, that's a part-time part of what I do as an entrepreneur. So yeah, that was a huge pivot to do that. And yeah, it's growing a whole nother thing. It's being known for a whole nother thing, which it takes time. And like I said, you said success. So I'm like, that's still to be determined. It's still growing. This new thing is still growing and flourishing and trying to really see the fruits of the labor that I put in to grow this brand and create this brand and really have it thrive. So yeah, that was a huge pivot. Success is TBD.
So listen, I want to make sure they hear this. When you're providing a service for people and they don't understand, as an entrepreneur, they don't understand what it takes for you to get them the product or the outcome, or they believe that it should be less or whatever. Now, first of all, those are not your clients, but in the beginning, you are sifting through those $5 people, right? They want to pay $5 for everything. Well, how much is that? It's only $5. That's what you got for $5. I don't actually have anything for $5.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? It's nothing wrong. I love Five and Below, so I ain't nothing wrong with a $5 product. I'm saying I don't have any though. Like, this is all that I have.
Five Below doesn't even exist. Every stuff is in there like $10, $12. It's so annoying.
So they're not even sticking to their marketing strategy.
Yeah. So say Five Below, but your course is $5.99.999.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. And so that's the whole thing. Like, recognizing that as an entrepreneur, there's going to be this season where you are trying to find your sweet spot with your offerings and your services, not just what you do, right? Olivia's saying like, oh, she didn't have a big pivot. I'm not even just talking about what you do, but also how you do it. Amber's still in beauty, but how she's in beauty is different now. Olivia is still in design, but how she designs is different. Even if you look at like graphics and website, you still do that. You were doing that in the very beginning. You still do that. Who you do it for, how you do it, and what your starting rate is. That has changed.
Yeah, drastically. Yeah.
Yes, it's changed drastically. But while you're in those transition moments, it feels like I'm gonna quit. I'm not, because she used to say all the time, I'm not gonna design anymore. I'm gonna quit. I don't want to design it. I don't want to do it. She'd be like, these people, they running me. I don't want to do. Like, she didn't want to do it anymore. And I think that we get to that place. We don't want to do it anymore. This isn't working. Instead of throwing out the baby with the bathwater, as they say, just take some time to kind of look at what you're doing and how you do it to see if there is a change in perspective, or if you need to reframe it, or if you need to rebrand, or if you need to change up your messaging. Maybe what you were doing was working, was attracting people that you didn't actually want to work with. And so now I need to look at my messaging. I don't necessarily need to change my product. Doesn't mean that I suck at life, but you can certainly feel that way. I have another question, but I can't think of it now. That I wanted to
And
ask.
also, I think too, like whenever you pivot, you have to, like I was saying, you have to give yourself room for the success, right? You have to give yourself room and time for the success, because it's not, sometimes it can happen right away. Like you pivot and it's like, boom, this was like what everybody wanted. Or sometimes you can pivot and it takes time for that success to kind of like bubble up, and you know, you get that overflow. So I also think people, that's why I can imagine why sometimes you see people online, they change what they do every other month. Like, oh, I'm doing this now, I'm doing this now, I'm doing this. Because they really, if they have that pivot, they really don't give themselves time to see the success from that, whatever thing that they're doing. They're just moving on to the next thing, moving on to the next thing. And that's certainly definitely not. I hate that with every being. Like I see people like, oh, you doing this week? Oh, you doing that next week? I'm like, just make up your mind, or just let something simmer so you can see some of that, some of the fruit from your labor. But I don't think people kind of give it that time. And so they get discouraged, or they get scared. They might need the money, or they might need the whatever, which we all do. But it's like, it's got to be it's a thin line between like when to pivot to the next thing and when to just kind of really dig in and see what you can do to make.
I think it's not a thin line. I disagree. It's a thick line. It's a thick line, and that's the problem. You get over to the pivot because you think it's a thin line. It's not no thin line. It's a thick line between what you're doing and pivoting. And I think that people don't realize how much time it actually takes for something to be successful. So when they pivot, or before they pivot, they've only done it for such a short amount of time. And because they didn't get the response that they wanted, now they're going to do it again, or they don't understand the process. I know for me, I was creating a brand new program every single time I launched. So I launched, I sold, I made money, I delivered that program. And then I'm like, okay, now what am I going to sell? Because that did make me $1 million. So now I'm going to do this new thing. Okay, this is what the people say they need next. So I would create a brand new program. I would do it. I would sell it. It would make money. And I'm like, okay, now what? Instead of realizing it's not time to make another program, it's time to reach more people and to like continue to relaunch and relaunch and relaunch and re-offer and make the offer so that you become known for a thing. I think that line between what you're doing and if I need to pivot is thick. You need to give it some time. But it doesn't feel good to fail, because it feels like you're failing. It feels like it's not working over and over and over. I just closed out this past week. I just closed out to the public Courageous Disciples membership. It's not open to the public. I'm done. I'm so done. I'm done. Done. Okay. It took months to get here. I offered this last year. I opened up Courageous Disciples membership to the public last year. And when I say to the public, I mean not to my alumni. So I have a CD intensive. There are levels to that. It's a premium program. And the people who graduate from that and who are enrolled in that, they have access to the membership, and they have had access to the membership. Last year, probably maybe like September, maybe even before September, I could probably look to see. I opened it up to the public, promoted it, people got in. It is done. March 24th is dead. That's it. It is done. It's not open to the public anymore. But it took a long time for me to get the data back, to get the feedback, to see like it just doesn't work. I want it to work. I desperately want the membership to work for the general public, because it's one of the only low paying things that I have where you can work with me. And so I want more people to be able to work with me. Me wanting it, don't make it a viable product.
Right.
How do I know it's not a viable product? Because I suffered through, and it did not feel good. Okay. People signing up and canceling. Sign up and cancel. Sign up and cancel. I literally, my turnover rate, y'all, like, just thinking about it, I'm triggered. It does not feel good. People are just not showing up, and people also weren't coming, right? So they were paying, not coming, and then canceling. And I would send an email, hey, hate to see you go, but I was curious, what were you hoping to get from the program that it didn't have? What were you expecting? What did you need? Because I wanted to know. First of all, ain't nobody responding to them emails. People were like, I'm out your group. I don't like you. I don't like your group. They're not even responding to the dang email. They just straight up, it's not really ghosting me because I see you still follow me on Instagram and stuff. You know what I'm saying? You're engaging with my content. You're just refusing to answer why you think my program sucks, right? So that does not feel good. And to get no feedback for months and months and months. And so I just had 3 people sign up last week. I had 3 people sign up. That's not true. I had 3 people sign up 15 days ago. It's probably 17 days now. They signed up down to the day, y'all. 17 days ago. And on the 14th day, one of them canceled. And then the other one, we got on a call. One of the other ones, we got on a call, and she plans to cancel. That's it. I'm done. It's out. Right? And if I had not been down this road before, I've done a lot of things. I'm not new to entrepreneurship, so I'm not new. It would have felt, it doesn't feel good, even though I'm in this space. I feel like, bruh, I can't suck this bad. Like, what's happening? It doesn't feel good, but it's not personal. It is not me. It's not the quality of my work. It's the wrong audience. It is not positioned correctly. And the truth is, what I found out, because one that canceled, she did get on a call with me to give me like the feedback. I think people don't know when to pivot because they're also not getting feedback. So maybe it's not working, but you don't actually know why it's not working. You don't actually know why people are canceling. And basically, she was like, she needed more hands on, which I already knew that. I knew, even though I tried it, I knew that for what I do, I needed to have more hands on. It needed to be more established. I'm just not willing to do it for $47. And that is my business decision. I'm not doing it. I know that that's what is needed. You have to just invest at the level in which I provide that type of foundational and hands on in order to get it. But it's been months. So now I know I need to pivot because it's a thick line between you suck at what you do and nobody wants to work with you and nobody wants your product, and recognizing, okay, this needs to be a true pivot. So how can we help you? Can we just give them maybe give them a couple tips, couple things that help you get through and deal with all of the things that could kind of lead to a meltdown or anxiety or depressive episode as an entrepreneur? Like, what are some tips and some things that you feel like people can do if they're listening and they're like, yep, this is exactly what I've been feeling. Thanks. But now what?
My first advice is to really reflect on yourself personally. Like, you just have to reflect on you, what you want, because I think as soon as you start talking to other people about it, they start putting on what they believe you should do or want to do.
That's good, Amber.
Yeah. So I think you have to do that first, because if you don't know, then how are they to know, right? Because as soon as they start giving you all this advice or feedback, then you're immediately kind of like shape shifting who you should be. And then potentially that doesn't work either. So that's my first tip of advice.
I think that right there is good. Before you talk to somebody else, sit down and think about, what is it you actually want to do? What is it you are trying to accomplish, right? So that you can if people are giving you advice or giving you encouragement, it's towards the end that you have already decided that you're seeking.
Yes.
I think that's great advice. What else? What you got, Olivia?
I would say, I mean, I would say that you really, once you sit with yourself or whatever, I would say like when it comes to like thinking about what your purpose is in this world, like pray and ask God, like, is what you have for me? Is this where you're leading me? Have that conversation with God also. I would say it would be very important, because I think a lot of times that we, especially speaking for myself, a lot of times we look to ourselves only to figure out where we should go, when it's like we have a Father in heaven that is here to guide and help us go in the way that we should go. I know it's also about you as well, but I also would think like that's a person that if you want to ask somebody for guidance, that's probably the best person to ask for guidance. But I know a lot of times when we're in this, speaking from personal experience, a lot of times when we're in this, we think we're the only ones that can try to figure it out and navigate what we should do, when we can really kind of lean on, the Lord's guidance as well.
I think that is amazing. Literally just did that this week, or Saturday, actually, which probably is why the enemy was trying me on Sunday. Because I literally did that this week. I'm like, okay, because Friday I shut it down, right? Okay, that's done. So I'm like, okay, sir. So now I know you know I gotta eat. So what we about to do out here in these streets? You know what I mean? Like, what is going to happen? I think that is so important as a woman of faith to actively and intentionally include God in your process when you're looking at what you want to do and how you want to do it. I also think that by bringing God into it, it allows you to be more honest with yourself. There's something about being in the presence of God that allows you to be like, man, I don't even really want to do this. I'm just doing this because I'm too afraid to do the thing you've really created me for. And he's the one that he's the only one that knows what you really want to do deep down on the inside, especially
Yeah.
if you've been flexing and pretending and just choosing the trends, right? Instead of doing what you want to do. He's the only one that knows. And so having that conversation with him when things are not working, I think allows you to be in a more vulnerable place and get the encouragement that you need to say, okay, this is really what I want to do. I think that's great. I think that's amazing. Um, I think another thing that is really important is community. And I don't just mean like
Yes.
friends. I mean like you need to be in a community of women where there are a couple levels. You want to be in a community where there are women who are exactly where you are. They are exactly where you are on this journey. So maybe you kind of just started, you're just trying to start to develop your brand or whatever. You want to be in a group where there are women just like that. You also want to have access to women who are a few steps ahead of you, not 1,000 steps ahead of you. I think that's very important. Sometimes you want to get in a space where people are 1,000 steps ahead of you. There's nothing to make you feel more like you cannot get it done than being in a group where everybody is ahead of you 1,000 steps. So you want people to be shoulder to shoulder with you and then a few steps ahead of you, and maybe some people who are a few steps behind you for a couple reasons. One, the people that are on the same step as me, they know what I'm going through. They can feel me. I know I'm not alone. They're going through it
Yes.
too, and there's something that feels good about that, right? That's not enough for me to grow, though. I need to have access to women who are beyond where I am, but close enough that they remember being where I am. I think sometimes you can get into a coaching program and they are so far above where you are in that program that you are not even equipped to take step number one. So step number one is do this. You not even close. You can't even see that step. You don't even know. You don't even understand the language of step number one, right? You want people that are just a few steps ahead of you so that they can share with you their experience and how they got from where you are to where they are. But I think it's also important to have people that are a few steps behind you because
I
it
like
helps you
that.
to see like, okay, I'm not where I want to be, but I have made some progress. I have learned some things, and it gives you the opportunity to share your wisdom and your experience with somebody else, somebody who's looking at you like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to get there. And you're like, that's interesting because I'm definitely trying to get over there right now. Do you know what I mean? So I think community is so important. That's where you're going to get a clue because you ain't got a clue. That's where you're going to get a clue of how much time it actually takes to do something, how many products actually fail before they work, how long you should expect for your ad to work, or how many cycles you need to get a program in before you really start getting people who are rocking with you. You need to be in a community Because your time frame, oh, I should be there by now, based on what? Your lack of knowledge and experience. So stop. You need to be in a community of people. So I think the three of those things will definitely help you to stay on this journey of entrepreneurship and not
For
fall
sure.
off the wagon. Hope this is encouraging to you guys. I hope this is helpful.
I love this conversation. First of all, I think the more we do our podcast, I think the more, it's not that we haven't been honest. I think we're just more in the moment of bringing you guys real conversations that we all three have off camera, or now it's on camera. So thank you for being here and allowing us in your space. Thank you for our company sponsoring today's video. So, make sure that you are just subscribing and giving us a 5-star rating, and we cannot wait to see you in our next upload.
Love y'all. Bye.
Bye.